Welcome, Sojourners. This is Jonathan with Sojourners Awake. In this episode, the Sojourners meet Zarion, a new fellow to the party. He is a tiefling who grew up in Avernus all his life. Zarion, like most people in Avernus, have existed in this war-torn wasteland. Have you ever taken a chance on someone? Have you ever trusted your instinct and taken a risk? You may have had no way to verify who they were or if they could be trusted. How did it end up for you? In this episode, we as storytellers explore the value of trusting your instincts and taking a chance on trust. And in the end, it might have turned out good, bad, or still yet to be determined. But the adventure lies within the journey. The power arrives in the process. Still, in Avernus of the Nine Hells, the Sojourners find themselves for the first time clean, fed, and well supplied. Nevertheless, they reside in Fort Knucklebone, ruled by the evil warlord, Mad Maggie. She single-handedly finances the blood war on both sides and houses the riffraff scum, turncoats, draft dodgers, and otherwise criminals. With all of this disturbance, at least the Sojourners are not trapped outside with the firestorm. Adventure awaits as the Sojourners make their departure from the fort, and only time will tell how Zarion fares with this newfound party. And so our story continues. To their horror, the Sojourners discovered that the warlord of the wasteland, Mad Maggie, was none other than Granny Nightshade. Only but 2 years ago did they remove the head from this wicked hag in order to nullify her contracts with their beloved town of Phandalin. Now that they stood in her courts within Fort Knucklebone, they realized their only option was to begin making deals. Conveniently, thank you to the insight that Bramble obtained, the two parties shared the same desire to keep the blood war continuing, for it was good for Maggie's financial business and good for the Sojourners' home plane of Bonzaro. Mad Maggie profited from both sides of the demons and the devils winning and losing because she financed both sides with cloaking devices and war machines. For the demons, she provided the cloaking spells made from pickled frog eyes, and for the devils, she built war machines to plow through the hordes emerging from the abyss. Garandan found a soul coin on which the soul of Lord Neverember was passed on in the form of golden currency. Luckily, the young dwarf now possessed and knew all he had to do was release the soul with a single word. He did this knowing full well that Zariel, the Archduchess, would miss the soul within a few hours. With the continued guidance from Professor Thaddeus Banks, the Sojourners now sat in the Witch's Wart, an old rotting bed and breakfast, where it seems even the walls had eyes. They prepared for their next mission, to travel to the Burning Beacon Demon Zapper and restore its function. Knowing that the demons recently overthrew it posed a question. How, in the 9 layers of hell, did the abyssal fiends manage to do so without getting fried in the process? And so our story continues. But before we begin, a few thoughts from Bramble Hartwood.
This is a journal entry. I had the nightmare again last night. As soon as Mad Maggie set the terms of our deal, I started trying to force myself to think of any other dream I'd ever had. But that just seemed to ensure that that's where my mind went when I fell asleep. The dream started the same as always. Foxglove, Mother, and I enjoying our Sunday picnic. When Hedge walks up calmly, but his face is burned and bleeding badly. Then he did something he's never done before. He started to apologize, seemingly for getting involved with Granny Nightshade. He said we were running out of money and he didn't feel like he had a choice but to go for her for help. Now, I know Hedge. Well, I knew him. He loved the people of Heartwood and was unerringly loyal to them. Honestly, he carried their well-being as a personal burden. I never saw any signs of financial trouble. The community feasts continued to run as usual, and he seemed to be just as generous to the villagers as ever. But then again, he would have spent his last silver for one of them if he thought it best. Still, he never would turn to Granny Nightshade. She was lying, taking the opportunity to plant seeds of doubt deep in my mind. Hedge simply never would have done that, right?
And so, within the Witch's Wart Tavern, each of you are preparing for your day. This has been the first time in 2 days that you've woken up safe and secure, for the most part. Garandan, as you are preparing for this morning's events, how do we find you, and to what are you paying attention to?
So Garandan, after finishing a long rest, has gone away to be kind of by himself in like a quiet corner or a quiet space inside this hotel. He's thinking about the dream. He's been thinking about the journey so far and kind of realizing he got caught up a little bit being in Avernus and being back here. And he's a little unsure of the way ahead. He's prepared some spells which he believes will be better for the team being in Avernus. And he is just thinking about that shield. And he knows what an abomination it was on that wall, and he really wants to get that. And as he thinks about that dream, he is remembering that it wasn't just Moradin's light that was shining on him and protecting him last time he was here. It was Lathander's too. And he's really wanting to open that connection to Lathander. And obviously, you know, it's against his dwarven instinct to move away from Moradin, but he knows that Moradin is loving him and he needs a little bit more power in this realm.
Felthrin, as you're preparing for your day, suddenly it occurs to you, it is your birthday. How do you proceed throughout your morning and preparations?
Well, Felthrin, he's an old dwarf. He's had a lot of birthdays. So to think too deeply on his 287th birthday is it's not really in his personality anyway, but especially in Avernus, I think he's very distracted by the amount of dread that he feels. He's never been this. Maybe the day that Grovelore was captured and he was run out of his home. Besides that day, he's never felt this kind of dread and almost hopelessness. So I think his day is, his morning is spent primarily fighting those feelings of wanting to quit and wondering why he left Grovelore again, knowing that he could have just stayed there as the defender and enjoyed a very relaxing last quarter of his life, but instead came back out with these guys to try and accomplish the greatest good, and ended up in Avernus, where everything is against what he likes, what he knows, what he believes in. And then also in the back of his mind, thinking about that really horrible experience he had with thoughts that he knows are not his, yet in the moment he had no control over them. He knew that that's how he felt in the moment, even in retrospect, acknowledging that those are not his real thoughts. And so he's he's got a lot of tough things that he's contemplating, and so I think he's probably a lot more quiet than he normally is. None of his jovial good mornings, just kind of contemplative.
Bramble's been sharpened by the things that he's experienced in the last, I guess, overnight. Having the encounter with Smiler, trying to steal from him, and then, having an actual good breakfast with plenty of water. So with that, and then with Garandan, flashing up the sky beam to Zariel, saying, "Here we are, right here." He's Bramble's kind of on edge, so he'll be sitting at the window, looking out, just looking for trouble. I think he's uneasy but sharp.
Go ahead and roll a perception check then. It seems like you're occupied. Professor Thaddeus Banks walks in. Oh, and I'm supposed to be the one from hell. All of you look incredibly dismal. Are you always this quiet? What did you roll, Brandon?
32.
32. Dang.
Is that all?
And what you notice right now is that there is a group of about 4 devils and demons outside the Witch's Wart. They are loitering, and one of them is that large gorilla guy that belches flies from his armpits, the one that had harassed Garandan earlier on. Smiler is nowhere to be seen, and then he walks up. He hands them a little bit of currency, gives a signal, and then walks away, leaving them to loiter right outside the Witch's Wart. Somehow, you are aware of this. Garandan and Feltherin, you look on. And Bramble, what do we see?
Bramble sits at a chair near the window, looking out, and he'll, like every once in a while, he'll sort of turn into the room and give a scan of the room with his eyes. And when he does that, it almost looks like his eyes are out of focus. Like he's not looking at anything, he's looking at everything. And it's kind of eerie to see him, paying this much attention to everything that's going on around.
And then we zoom in on your hearing, and you can actually hear the abyssal whispering back and forth, and they say, "Let's just wait until they come out. They should be downstairs any moment." Bramble, you're picking up these thoughts back and forth. Nevertheless, in your silence, Professor Thaddeus Banks at your tail, offering to guide you for the next 3 days, you know that you have to go downstairs into the Witch's Wart, which is a comfortable tavern, a bar, and also a magic item shop, as this is one of the only interesting places in Avernus with any kind of civilization. So if you would progress downstairs in a natural order, is there anything inside this magic item shop that you're looking for? The current shopkeeper is a satyr. You recognize him as a fey creature, large bushy beard and goat-like horns with small ram horns on his head and goat cloven hooves. And he's zipping back and forth, arranging things on the shelf and polishing up items, making sure the ledgers are correct. Any questions you have about this scene, Garandan?
The only thing Garandan's thinking about is that shield, really. He does want to up his armor class a little bit. He's feeling a little, whereas he did gain some weight at Grove Law, and he's feeling a little bit more sustenance, he's still feeling a little flimsy.
Are you interested in the Shield of the Morning Lord, or did you want to look here?
He remembers that ring of protection that Bramble had, and he was trying to think of something to help boost his armor class. So he's kind of looking around for some kind of trinket.
Excuse me, sir, is there anything I can help you out with? You were looking at anything in particular?
The satyr walks up to you.
Yeah, so I'm, from the mortal plane, and, I can take most things there, but some things here, they hit me a little harder, and so I was looking for something to, maybe magically protect me a little bit.
We have a certain little cloth right here. This is a cloak of protection. We have a couple rings that can protect you as well, make you resistant to certain damage. We also have these wonderful shields that have been constructed from the hides of various devils and demons, hard as anything else here in Avernus, and fearful. And you look at these shields, and as you move them in like the light, they flash demonic and devilish faces to frighten the enemies.
I've already got a pretty good cloak, and I'm pretty resistant to most things. But anything that will, I've just got the scale mail that's resistant to fire. Anything that can be a little bump there.
You're looking for more armor, or you're looking for a shield?
I have my eyes on a shield.
Well, this one right here is a devil's hide. It's made from the backbone of a deceased pit fiend moments before it was incinerated into ash. The wizard was able to salvage the spine and fashion it into a shield. It is pretty much hard as anything else. It is a +3 shield, if you're interested. And it is, I give it to you for, he sizes you up and says, 300 gold.
Beltherin puts his hand on Garadan's shoulder and kind of glares at him a little bit. He's not a big fan of a demon shield.
Yeah, this I'm kind of partial to my shield. It's got my symbol of Moradin. Thanks, brother. Yeah.
Ooh,
Man, I get cold.
Moradin, that is very distasteful to be in here, sir. Perhaps you should not flash that around so gregariously.
He's done all right by me so far, but thanks.
Of course. Well, please do not waste my time anymore. If there's not anything I can sell, if you're going to loiter around my business, perhaps you should buy something.
Tell me about a ring of resistance then.
Well, we have ring of fire, ring of cold, ring of poison, ring of necrotic, and for a high price, ring of radiant.
Let's talk necrotic. That sounds.
I give it to you for 100 gold.
Done. So
he just flips it to you, tired of dealing with this mortal riffraff. Mortals, you think they have a little more fire under their feet since they die so soon. Why did they waste my time? Bramble and Felthorn, are you staring at anything around the room and anything you're paying attention to? Any items you'd want to purchase?
Rimble will look for some bolts to replenish his stock. Maybe some shiny ones.
How shiny?
Like +1. Shiny.
Okay. You'd be looking for silver-tipped ammunition.
Okay.
Very powerful, destroy fiends, devils. So the satyr, you're kind of gauging that he's probably used to doing a couple shady deals under the table. So how would you progress with that?
Excuse me, sir. I was wondering if you might have something that could help my shot be a little bit more effective. You see, I have this glove here, and it's capable of shooting shots without... It takes pretty much a standard bolt. Do you have anything that you think might enhance my impact of my shot a little bit? I'd be happy to show you the glove.
I'm curious.
He'll never let go of it, but he'll take it off and sort of turn it around for him, show him the inside.
This is very interesting. Do you remember where you acquired this?
I got it from a half-orc. He's a bit fond of me.
Oh, is that why I see the little love sign on the inside? And you now look, and there's actually a carved heart with an arrow through it. It says, "Love Elna, never forget."
Yes.
You hadn't seen that before, and now you just picked it up.
I'm somehow not surprised.
She must be a very special woman.
Very special.
Yeah, of course. And he kind of shows you some simple bolts that wouldn't be anything special. Just, run-of-the-mill arrows that would go perfectly with your little missile of firing.
Now, really, I was hoping that you would see that I'm, I maybe don't always follow the rules. I'd be interested to see if you have anything for something like me, for someone like me.
Puts his hand on your shoulder and says, "My friend, you are in Fort Knucklebone. That means you do not follow the rules, of course." Neither do I.
Then why are you showing me only these things?
He waits around the room. There's a couple turncoat sergeants that leave, and as soon as they leave, he kind of leans under the table. Go ahead and make a persuasion check for me.
27.
Good grief. He kind of looks around. He gives you like a grin as if he is relishing this under the table bribe with as much passion as you are at this moment. And he lines before you 20 silver tipped bullets. He says, I am not a fiend. I don't think you are as well. But they hate these things, and you asked for them. So you asking for something illegal and me selling you something illegal is our little contract of silence, correct? No go running to the warlord here, Mad Maggie.
Never.
300 gold.
You see, I was hoping that I might exchange some information for part of that price.
You give me information? What could you possibly tell me?
Well, I could let you get a closer look at this glove here. I'm sure it could be useful to you and your friends, especially if you could make something like this.
Okay. So because you rolled a 27, he kind of leans forward a little bit and begins taking the glove from your hand.
Yep.
He looks at it back and forth and says, I do know someone who might be interested in something like this. There's a wizard in town. His name is Mordekainen, but we call him Mort. He works in things like this. I think he had seen it before. I give you for 225.
I'm afraid you're still out of my price range right now. Maybe I can go talk to my friends.
Ooh, hold on. You will need to buy something from me, though, because, hold on now. He now kind of panics a little bit, knowing that he has shown you his goods. Make a counteroffer, please. Please, let us not walk away empty-handed here.
I'll give you 50 gold for 5.
Eager to make a sale and eager to place the contraband in your hand. He quickly puts it in your hand and breathes a sigh of relief as soon as you take the bolts. He takes the 50 gold and pockets it in a secondary coin slot underneath the table. So those silver bullets overcome any resistances that fiends might the 5 silver tips are vulnerable distance, so double damage.
Okay.
Yeah. 5. You have 5. Okay. Donald. A moment has passed. Nevertheless, the bell rang as the last devil left this shop. You waited a moment, lingered perhaps. You see a dwarf, an old wiry dwarf who looks about 286, 287 years old from your reckoning. A younger dwarf with a bald head and an unusually stark gray beard standing next to him. They're both talking in common or maybe in dwarvish about some shield they might be interested in. And there's a small hobbit, or as I like to call them, henfolk, that is dealing with his satyr. And you know this satyr, Gregory. He works here all the time and every day, so you've been in this shop many times. Nevertheless, you've made clear your intentions. So if you would take a moment to describe how you are appearing and what you are paying attention to during this scene. And quite possibly, if you have any questions that need clarification.
I'm paying attention to the newcomers. They obviously come from someplace else that I don't know about. They obviously know something that they probably have the one thing that I look for, and that is to leave this godforsaken place. However, I'm looking at them and I'm watching them look at the shield, and I'm guessing I can help them convince them some way without giving out who I really am. So I approach.
Okay. Who do you approach?
I approach the dwarf.
Okay, older or younger?
Older.
Older, okay. If you take a minute to describe how you appear to Felthrin, just 2 or 3 things that describe your appearance.
I have wings. I have wings folded on my back. I have a cloak, however the hood is down. And I am a tiefling.
Tiefling, yeah.
Tiefling. My skin is, I have black skin, crispy black skin, with one horn on one side and a broken one on the other. And I approach the older dwarf and tap him on the shoulder. Excuse me, sir. Is there I've noticed that you've been looking at that shield for quite some time.
No shield for me.
No shield?
I have a shield. Who are you?
I am Zarion. Menken. I'm a druid, and you can call me somewhat of a negotiator, if that's what you want to call me. I negotiate by trade. I help those that are in need. I can make bad deals seem a lot less worse than what they really are. And I can somehow offer support in magic class. I come to you noticing that both of you seem to be from a foreign place. And by my curiosity, if I'm correct, that you are about to embark on a quest, seeing that you're here in the shop. And I can offer my services in exchange for an exit out of this place.
You want to leave Avernus?
Absolutely.
Who doesn't?
Not like I do. I've been in this place for all my life. I have seen everything that there is to see. I grow tired of the fighting, the backstabbing, and everything that I have seen. I have seen death from many, many days. I've seen it all the time. And if there's one thing that's worse than the constant decadence, it's the stench that I have to smell every day. I can't get used to it. It drives me mad each and every day. I can't stomach it. I can't even eat properly because of the stench that I have to endure each and every day.
Well, Zarion, I've been here one day, and I agree with you. And I'm gonna get out of here as soon as I can. And you want to come with us? Well, just mind your P's and Q's. These are my friends.
Something you would have noticed about Zarion, Zarion mentioned that he does eat and drink, which is a mortal necessity.
Understand that these are your friends. However, it has come to my understanding that you have made a deal with Mad Maggie. And that I'm quite sure making a deal with her was the worst thing you could have ever done for your friends.
Well, Zarion, let me tell you a little story. Once upon a time, there was an old dwarf, and he and his friends took off this hag named Granny Nightshade's head. And it just so happens that he and his friends also ran into Granny Nightshade in another place. Found out that her name was Mad Maggie. So, as you can see, I'm not a big fan of making deals with Mad Maggie, but if I have to take off her head again, I'm okay with that.
By now, the satyr Gregory has stopped looking at Bramble, and just his mouth has just dropped open at the audacity of you just both speaking back and forth and just unloading all this information. He stops for a minute, and Garandan, standing next to each of them, how did you respond?
Well met, Zarion. Friend, you say you've been here and seen some things. So the shield my brother and I were talking about was the one on Mad Maggie's wall. Do you know how that got here? That is a holy relic, and it's an abomination hanging on her wall.
Zarion, if you want to take that, it was the angel was killed in a horrible ritual. and the trophy is like a scalp hanging on Mad Maggie's wall. You know of this very well.
That shield was brought here by was lost by an angel who lost his life with making a foolish deal with Mad Maggie.
Mhm.
And that's how the shield got there. You see, had he talked to me first, he'd have still been alive, and that shield wouldn't be there right now. I know Mad Maggie. I know who she is. I know what makes her sleep. I know what keeps her awake. I know everything there is about her. And one thing's for sure, you cannot trust her. If you go and do whatever she asks of you, she will stab you in the back. My goal is to aid you in keeping her from taking your heads, because you took her head the first time and it didn't work. Taking her head again and it still won't work. She is sure to come back for yours. I know a way to get around her. I know the way to get what you're looking for from her. And I can assure you, if you don't accept my help, there's nothing there is that you can do. Even you can take her head 17 times. I have tried taking her head. That is nothing to her. She gets off on that.
Well, I'll take a shield. And if you want to play out of here, I can get us out of here. But if you're good at making deals, I need a tuned rod to our plane. And then when we're done, I can get us out of here.
You need a tuned rod.
Yeah, it's a magic item. Rod of attunement to our plane of Bonzaro.
So Zarion's very familiar. There is one of those located in Mad Maggie's courts. It's sitting in a glass case, easily guarded by a golem, flaming skull, and a very bitter demon, formerly known as Lord Volmer.
Has she met any of and all of you already?
Mad Maggie has, yes.
So she knows she's already seen you.
Yeah.
Very well. I will acquire this iron rod that you seek of myself.
Ooh.
However, you must guarantee that I escape after I acquire this rod. Remember, I have the information on her. I know how she moves. You know of the dreams All of you know, experience her dreams. I have a way to stop that. I have a way to get to her.
So Garandan, Felfin, and Bramble, as you're hearing this, it's clear that Zarion is eager to get out of Avernus, eager to get out of Fort Knucklebone at the price of doing a deal with you. Zarion plans to acquire this attunement rod out of Mad Maggie's dwelling. The three of you have a chance to kind of correspond with each other outside of the hearing of Zarion. And Bramble, while you're doing this, you notice the shop is getting unusually quiet. A little too quiet.
I suppose now might be a good time to mention, there might be some folks waiting for us just outside. Maybe when we leave here, the front door is not the door we should take.
Are they gonna throw us a party?
Yep.
I think I'd like to smash something.
Zarion, you have waxed on in conversation. A little bit of delay has taken place, and you hear the bell chime ring. The satyr quickly ducks behind the counter, and you see 4 deranged-looking demons, a fallen angel with his wings clipped and his eyes cut out. You see a very familiar gorilla-looking demon belching flies out of his armpits and flexing his muscles. They all look around, they say, "Hey, so we heard there was a robbery going on here. Is that right?" The satyr kind of like creeps behind the door and he's sweating a little bit. He's like, "Yes, they're robbing me."
His prices are outrageous. He's robbing us.
All right, everyone roll initiative because this scene just got hostile.
these guys are ready, so they're at the top of the round. It looks like an equal challenge. Good. And let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got everybody here.
Okay.
If you zoom in, you can move around. Blah, blah, blah. All right, there's tables, there's chairs. This looks like a very well-kept shop. There's items everywhere. Behind the red dot, behind the red square, that's where the satyr's shop is, over here. And of course, the demons are all approaching you. Oh, sorry, this is the front door. Y'all are at the back door near the satyr. So, these guys are obviously trying to frame you for a robbery. If you remember Mad Maggie's words, she said, "Don't get into any trouble while you're here, because Mad Maggie will not protect you." This is obviously some kind of setup, as the satyr has participated in getting you guys framed for robbery, which is a big crime. So top of the round, they're all just going to go for you guys. With their multi-attacks, they've got clubs, they've got daggers, they've got fists, they've got fire. The fallen angel brings out this flaming sword, and he begins to go for, right out of the gate, he's going to go for Zarion. Well, let's see. Zarion, they know you. They know you. Hold on, they're just going to go for Felthrin. Boom, right there. Multi-attack. That's going to be a 23 and an 18. All right, take 30 points of fire damage. And the one that was harassing Garandan, the big gorilla-looking guy, he's going to come and he's going to slam twice on the back of your head.
Nice.
17 and a natural 1.
So Garandan's going to use one of his warding flares to blind him, and then he's just going to completely fall over and miss.
He does. You flash the light, and he just goes to pound you, and instantly just goes completely blind. He's swinging wide, and you just do 2 quick ducks and get out of the way. The other 2 demons look a lot like twins, and one of them just vamps, misty steps right behind Bramble, and the one misty steps right behind Bramble, and they're going to get advantage on both of their dagger attacks. It's going to be a 20 and a 19.
Both hit.
Okay. And then a 21 and a 26.
Yep.
96 points of piercing damage to you.
Okay, can I have one of those attacks with my reaction?
You can, yeah.
So 12 off of that, 12 less than that?
Yeah.
Those guys.
Yeah, they just vamp back into place and then just poke you full of holes.
Ouch.
Zarion, you managed to not be hit during this entire round, and you are actually next in the initiative. So you've seen what's going on. They're obviously trying to create some ruckus, do some damage, knock things over. And how are you responding to the situation?
I can't have my people I make a deal with die on me so soon. So what I want to do is cast fog cloud, blind everybody, give them the upper hand.
Easy enough. So I'm assuming it's just completely cast in this entire area, which means everybody who relies on sight is going to have disadvantage on any melee attacks during this time. So it pretty much just completely dark. Now, while you're in this fog cloud, Zarion, are you going to want to use in your movement to get out of the cloud?
Yes, actually, I can fly.
Okay. It's a little tight in here, about 8-foot ceilings.
8-foot ceilings, okay. I don't have to fly that high. I just need to fly out of the cloud.
Okay, so we'll just get you out of here for a little bit. When you make that move, the guy attacking Felthrin is going to use his flame sword reaction. He sees what you're doing now, and he just calls out, "You traitor! You son of a misbegotten half-ogre!" And he's going to take a swipe at you with disadvantage because he currently can't see. And that's going to be a 20 to hit you. I think it does. So you feel the heat of this blade as you take 18 points of fire damage.
I'm immune to fire damage.
All right, so you guys watch as this, well, you maybe not watch it or anything, but you hear the sizzle go back and forth. Actually, none of you ever see it. And Zarion, you just quickly flap out of, and the fire hits you, right? It kind of like sears through your skin. But what happens? How does this immunity manifest?
it just sits there and it just fades off without any pain. I'm used to pain. I'm used to fire. I was dealing with this ever since I was living here. So fire is pretty much nothing to me. It sits there for a little while and I just pat it off.
Yeah, it's just like smoking a little bit on your shoulder.
A little bit on my shoulder.
Felthrin, in the obscurity of this fog cloud, I'm very interested to see what Felthrin has acquired. Zarion didn't take the time to communicate anything that was going on. It's still a little tense and confusing as to what is going on. How do you proceed?
Felthrin is he's full throttle. He's not messing around. So he is going to he last thing he knew, Zariel was standing right next to him, but that does not change the fact that he's just gonna kind of whirlwind swing his hammers, and he knows where the guy is that hit him first, so he's going to take 3 whacks at that guy, and he recognizes he can't see, so he's going to lighten up his swing a little bit and just try to make sure he makes contact. He's not using his great weapon mastery.
Nice.
Oof, that's still a 15. Oh, second attack is a 30, and third attack is 22.
As you swing your hammer, this lightning bolt kind of finds its way into the building, breaking through one of the windows, connects charging with your hammer, connecting on the chest of this fallen angel at the last minute. He jolts back a little bit.
So, can I use one of my superiority dice too?
If you had hit him one more time, he'd have been down.
Okay, so can I use it?
Yeah.
Okay, so I actually did roll max damage on it, but I was going to goad him. Apparently that's not going to matter now because I just did 10 more points of damage to him.
Okay. You goad him anyway as I put him in the trash.
Yeah, so you hear Felthran. He feels the hammer hit twice and he just yells, "Attack me! Attack me, you losers!"
Boom, and you hear him just fall on the ground.
Who's next?
I'm immune to fire damage.
Attack me!
Bramble, now it's your turn.
All right. So Bramble has blind sense.
Ooh.
So I think the fog cloud doesn't affect him so much. He can still hear everything that's going on. He's going to take a step sort of diagonally here, possibly incurring 2 attacks of opportunity if anyone notices him leave, just to put himself in a different spot. And he's going to attack this twin here, who's hopefully looking in the wrong direction.
Did you want to use your bonus action to disengage?
And I came up with this plan.
Okay.
I didn't notice the other one there. I think I will use my bonus attack or bonus action to disengage.
Okay, easy enough.
So I will attack this rogue here. Bramble steps through between this guy and Garandan and pushes the acid rune on Queen's favor and takes an upslice.
Nice.
With a 23 to hit.
Indeed.
All right, so that's going to be a lot of damage.
55.
Sweet.
Yeah, that's enough. Especially with acid damage. So go ahead and describe as you take this guy down.
Yeah, so it's just a perfect, this guy didn't follow my movement, so he's still looking in the wrong direction. I get a nice clean stroke all the way up his ribs, slicing along, cracking a few on the way. The acid sizzles on his skin.
No one except Bramble's noticing this now, but as this rogue demon dies, he begins to disintegrate in this pool of vile ichor. And you hear his screams, his cries, as he is dying not on the plane of Bonzaro, suffering respawn, but now suffering complete annihilation. You did not get that from the fallen angel, but from this devil, you did. Okay, Bramble, anything else before we move to Garandan?
That's all.
Okay, Garandan, right before your turn, you hear the satyr calling on the intercom. We're having a robbery. We're having a robbery. This is awful. Please send the guards. Please send Mad Maggie. Please. And he begins to call out from behind the countertop, calling for reinforcements.
So Garandan's, he saw Bramble take a pretty big hit right before like that fog cloud hit, and it didn't like that, and he doesn't really know what's going on, but he felt just the little guy run behind him, so he's just kind of reached back and cast a heal and give him 70 points of healing after taking a pretty big whack. And then he's gonna run to the guy and like try and persuade him to tell him that some guys actually came and attacked. It's not us. Like, it's not who they think it is.
Okay, so you're talking to the satyr, right?
Yeah.
The shop owner?
Yeah.
Okay.
Satyr.
Yeah, as you move behind this cloud, you just kind of, what do you say to him to try and convince him?
Well, here we were just minding our business and these guys came and attacked us. No one's robbing anything.
He just squeals, I'm under attack! They're all trying to kill me! He seems to be pulling the rug out from underneath your feet.
So I guess we don't have to pay our tab.
Robbers never do! Garandan, your round went really well. Top of the round, the demons are going to, two of them are going to take attack against Garandan, of course, with disadvantage. That's going to be a 12 and an 18 to hit. Both swinging. You've kind of moved out of their direction now, and the gorilla is just batting in the air wildly. The one that was following Bramble is going to vamp back and forth. He's going to jump in front of Bramble on top of the countertop. He's going to take 2 stabs at him. So Bramble, you take another 48 points of damage. And then Garandan, you do get hit by this guy?
Yeah, the 18 got me.
Okay. Just 40 points of damage as one of the fists come pounding on top of your head. You begin to hear a lot of rustle outside. It seems as if a lot of attention is now gathered, and y'all have knocked over shelves, you've busted through bookcases, there's scrolls on the ground, magic items, potions begin clattering and sizzling up in the air. This place becomes really a very chaotic environment, and there's a lot of dust and smoke and clouds, and the fog cloud is knocking over, and people are knocking over things and causing all kinds of spell attacks, which is going to channel a wild magic surge. Garandan, if you would roll a D100.
Althrin permanently turns into a sheep.
There's a little polymorph going on.
Gosh.
Good. I got 100. I got a 10 and a 0. Oh, yeah. Well, maybe just a 10.
No.
Yeah, because not 00. I got 10.
You got a 10. Okay. You see like these bottle rockets begin going off as this magic missile spell is being cast. Each of you take 6 points of damage as you get blasted and all these little rockets. Everyone else takes another 6 points of damage. The satyr actually takes one to the head, and he is completely unconscious at this point. You hear his voice just scream out, they're coming, they're robbing, and then just poof, lands on the ground. Zarion, with all this madness going on, you take just a bolt to the chest and it stings for a little bit. You right yourself and you're at the top of the round. How do you want to resolve this situation?
I want to cast Healing Word.
Okay, nice.
First, that's my first thing I want to do to ensure that my meal tickets get me out of here. I can't have any of them fall, and to win their trust.
So something interesting about Healing Word is it only affects your allies. So what specific word, maybe a particular phrase or something comforting you say in battle that lets them know that you are indeed an ally?
What comforting word? Okay, I got something. Give me a minute. I'm gonna go with his hometown, since that is land of my birth, Greyhawk. That's the word he says.
Okay, interesting. So as he calls out this word, maybe the most astute, I think Bramble may have studied this a long time ago. Greyhawk? That's another planet. That's like Bonzaro, but oh my, what? So then it becomes aware to you that this fellow is not from Bonzarel, and that hell has been drawing on resources from many worlds, not just yours. And as you call it, Grey Hawk, if you would roll a d4 for me.
1.
A 1, okay.
Yeah.
So 1 plus 5. So you each get back 6 points of healing to compensate for the magic missile. Well, there you go. So you all hear this language as he's calling out in the old elder world of Grey Hawk, a neighboring planet, a neighboring plane of existence. Forgive me, Feltherin. You're next up. The fog cloud is beginning to dissipate. How do you resolve this situation?
With my hammer,
Do it.
I'm gonna smack big gorilla guy. I have not liked him at all.
Make sure to wash your hands before touching him.
Yeah, my dice are gonna smell like jackfruit now. 3 whacks at that guy. That's gonna be a 27, 26, and almost a 1, and a 12. 17 force damage, 9 lightning damage, and 2 superiority dice damage for goading this guy into hitting him.
It's okay. You kind of slap him to the side, but as your hammer hits him, his belly jiggles a little bit and absorbs a lot of the blow.
Yeah.
Okay, Bramble, it is now your turn. How do you want to resolve the situation?
It seemed to work for this guy's brother, so I'm gonna turn on him as he appeared behind me. He's up on the table, so I'll activate the acid rune again and try to swipe across his legs.
Okay.
27 to hit, 32 sneak attack, so slash 2.
So this time only 46 points of damage, plus the magic missile. Oh, that's 52. So right on the money. You finish him off, cleaving him to the side, and you notice this exact same thing as he begins to suffer annihilation. The gorilla hears this noise, and not being from the same plane of existence, he seems to be willing to stay in the fight. The cloud just empties now. You can all see each other in the room, the 2 piles of devilish sulfur on the ground sizzling through the countertop. The fallen angel has collapsed, and there's blood coming out of his mouth, and he dies, gags on his own blood. He's lying there with no chance of resuscitation. And then you notice a little bit of light begin to fade from his eyes. Strange mystery indeed, as the way these creatures die. Garandan, you have one last turn before resolving this situation. You can hear the footsteps outside. You can hear the satyr quietly dying underneath the countertop. You know that your original mission was to go and resolve the burning beacon for Mad Maggie. How does Garandan want to proceed now that all this has transpired?
So Garandan getting nowhere with the cedar, and seeing this gorilla friend, he just kind of smirks at him and was like, well, you wanted a tussle, and guess you weren't expecting my friends, but I think we're gonna keep you alive to tell the people what really happened here today. You wanna fight, or you with us?
Okay, make a persuasion check.
I think Garandan thinks he's more charismatic than he is. Okay, persuasion. It's a crit fail.
A crit fail.
Wait.
Right.
Yeah, no, I already know the outcome. Yep.
Yeah, so sadly, this guy actually has on his name badge puke for brains. It's not in the cards. I mean, it was a good delivery and everything, but in his fury, he's just about to reminisce over what you're saying and think about it, and then a big warhammer just smacks him in the belly, nearly causing him to upchuck on you. And then he just rages again. He is not gonna side with you. And at that moment, bursting forth a couple of Mad Maggie's goons, led by a large, bony devil. This bony devil has a helmet on, and it's completely obscuring his eyes. And every time he speaks, he's got this wispy smoke coming out of his mouth. And he walks in with confidence and authority with the glaive, kind of points a little bit, and the magic dispels the the fog is completely dropped as you're all standing there. This place is just a mess. Magic items everywhere, potions going off. All of a sudden, one magic missile just flies around and nearly shoots through the window and blasts it to the ground. Felthrin, you're standing there with your hammer, and it's still charged with a little bit of lightning. And the shop owner, Satyr, is just lying, his head completely blown off by this magic weapon. The gorilla is just swinging back and forth and then just looks to the side, panting. So, Zarion, you have one action. So obviously you're in a situation where the police have arrived, okay? This is Fort Knucklebone. It's interesting that Zarion gets to actually take first in the initiative to respond to this situation.
Okay. Zarion is used to the commotion. Everyone else don't know it yet, but he knows Mad Maggie, as he was one, and now he has to step in and salvage the situation. Luckily, the owner's knocked out, and so now I can give them my version of the story of what really happened.
Okay, so Bitter Breath approaches you, and his muscular body pulls to the side. You know him as Lord Volmer, also known as Bitter Breath. He's a very bitter devil that was demoted. He speaks and he looks at you and says, Zarion, what in the 9 setting suns are you doing here? And he looks around the room asking for an explanation.
As you heard, there was a robbery taking place. Unfortunately, these demons that you see dead right now are the ones that tried to rob this establishment. And the young dwarf here fought. I pitched in as well, being that I am Mad Maggie's personal. And now that's what happened. I personally take responsibility for everything that went down here, as they caught us off guard. And as all I can do is handle the situation the way it did. The shop owner is knocked out. Unfortunately, he can't give you his story. I would need to talk to him after the whole thing is resolved.
He picks up the satyr by the hoof upside down, and his little bit of blood drips out of his neck. Anybody seen his head? Felthrin, it's kind of rolled off to the side next to your boot. Felthrin, if you would respond to the situation, however you choose.
Felthrin, so what's the monkey guy doing?
The monkey, he's kind of like just holding back the rage a little bit. Just you can see his veins about to pop because he hasn't had a chance to just pound somebody in the last second. But with the cops showing up, he is taking deep breaths, slowly lowering his arms down.
Felthrin's gonna kick the satyr's head over to the officer. So, I think I found it. And then he's going to put himself between Monkey Boy and the rest of my party. So Felthrin's going to put himself between the guy that he sees as the threat and the rest of his party.
I need you to roll intimidation check for me.
13?
13. So as you're taking a minute, Felthrin, you stand before the gorilla and you get a whiff of the abyss coming from his creases and his crevices, and it reminds you of that encounter you had with that gnoll. And you hear the voice knocking on the door of the back of your mind. Oh, please, remember, there is only me. There is only mine. And it starts to get a little muffled back and forth because your wit and your mental faculties are taking over once again in this hostile situation. Nevertheless, you and you alone know of its creeping presence in the back of your head. In the meantime, Zarion will roll a persuasion check I'll let you look around for that. But in the meantime, Bramble, you have a chance to respond to the situation however you choose.
It seemed like the police have bought Zarion's story.
We're about to find out, so
Okay.
What's that persuasion? Okay, what's that persuasion check you got, Donald?
16 plus 5.
With Bramble's insight, I'm pretty sure at this point you know that that Officer Bitterbreath definitely has a card he hasn't played yet. The game's not over yet, but he has bought Zarion's story.
Okay.
Go ahead, Bramble.
Bramble will walk over to Bitterbreath. I guess he doesn't look familiar. I don't know that I've ever seen.
No, you don't know.
Okay. So he'll walk over to Bitterbreath and say, "We stayed here last night. We came down in the morning."
He
We were
pushes
looking
you
at the
back.
shop."
He interrupts you and says, "Get back, mortal!" And you kind of go tumbling to the ground. You see at this point he has incredible disdain for you. Incredible disdain for any one mortal. Zarion he is basically tolerated because indeed it must be true that he does work for Mad Maggie. Feel Bitterbreath would not put up with this Henfolk scum. Do you respond?
We'll just stay quiet, give him some space,
Okay.
finger on the trigger.
Garandan, you've seen this encounter take place. You're kind of like halfway between the countertop, noticing everything that's going on, and of course, lasting the initiative. You've seen all this transpire. How do you respond?
Does Garandan recognize his voice?
That'll be an insight check, buddy.
Okay. Because when he crit failed against the gorilla, he just ducked. So he hasn't looked up.
Yeah.
He just hit the floor and I just rolled a 20, natural 20 for insight. So
It could not be more beautiful. You do the way he pushed Bramble, the way he spoke to Zarion, the way he just casually looked at that body. You know this is none other, and you've been waiting for it. It is Lord Volmer, and he kind of locks eyes with you. And the smoke issues from his mouth, and you can smell that old, familiar scent of your instructor. He's trying to remember. You've seen this before as devils reincarnate, as they respawn from their mortal bodies. Their memories are lost forever. But occasionally, a devil, like Thaddeus, Professor Thaddeus, will have these flashes of insight from their previous lives. He kind of narrows and he walks over to you and he's going to go for it. This is his response to you. He says, "Do I know you?"
Well, there was a time that you were in charge of me, but the last time I saw you, I was the last thing you saw.
And with that, he remembers. So he just instantly just flares, two large wings spread out from him. He just fills it with fire and he grabs you by the throat. He is holding you tight. So this has become yet another hostile situation. He pushes Zarion to the side and he is recognized. This is the assassinator, the one that sent him back to hell. He is not happy.
Will Garandan resolve this issue with Bitterbreath, formerly known as Lord Volmer? What plans does Bramble have with silver-tipped bolts? Will Felthrin hold back the threat of abyssal corruption? And will Zarion finally escape the grip of Fort Knucklebone? Tune in to the next episode, and may your story continue. Thank you to Tabletop Audio for all of Sojourners Awake audio needs. Visit them at www.tabletopaudio.com.